So now we're really live with YouTube. We've been live. So you guys have been enjoying our wonderful experience here. Thank you for your patience. We're going to interview Michelle. I'm going to read parts of her bio, but first of all, you should just know she's freaking incredible because she climbed Kilimanjaro. So and that's why we're all here, right? We want to hear all about it. So, Michelle stands as a paragon of multifaceted success. She's a seasoned business consultant, a passionate coach, and I love this part, an adventurer at heart. She had a career that has spanned 2 decades, and Michelle left an incredible mark on the realms of business and strategy. You owned a bar, I love this, in a hotel in Amsterdam, a red light district for 17 years. And you have an acute understanding of hospitality industry and the nuances of diverse cultural dynamics. And then you leverage your wealth of experience to guiding businesses and towards growth and efficiency. You were a coach, right? And you still are a coach, but you're semi-retired, right?
Yeah, I've been semi-retired for almost 10 years now, but I do what I love.
Yeah, it's good, right? And that, and a testament to Michelle's enduring spirit of adventure and challenge, one of the most remarkable achievements is the recent summiting of Mount Kilimanjaro. If you don't know where that is, that's in Africa. This feat not only showcases physical endurance, but also mirrors her approach to life and work, a relentless pursuit of goals and unwavering commitment to reaching new heights. And I'm telling you right now, you guys, we're going to learn so much because summiting Kilimanjaro and having resilience and versatility in life it's the same. And so we're going to learn a lot from you today. So welcome to the show, Michelle. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to tell my story.
Oh, yeah, man. So right after sometime in December, you summited and then you posted what you learned. And I reached out immediately because your post brought me to tears and just pierced me to my soul. Like it was so good. And I'm like, okay, we have got to capture this forever on YouTube and get the lessons learned in a place where somebody can access it over and over and learn from your experience. Because tell me, we have some questions from our friends. So this is how I met. I'm just going to really quickly share. Um, Michelle and I are both in this book that was compiled by our coach Maya Pomaroda. It's When Love Speaks, and I reread your chapter twice in the last little bit, and you have really transformed your life from when you were a young person to today, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, without a doubt, yes. And I have been in a personal development world for many, many years, with some phases of dropping out and back in again. And each time I feel like there's a new layer of the onion being peeled, and I don't think the journey ever stops. But I do feel like I'm in a much better place than I have been in the longest time.
Don't you feel like you just love who you are at this point?
Yes, and that is exactly the thing that I struggled with most in the past, or one of the things I struggled with most in the past, is that self-worth and actually knowing that I'm a badass. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I knew it from my environment, but I didn't know it from myself. And I'm getting to this stage where I absolutely know that. Um, and yes, and I hope there's more.
Yeah, I could tell from your post that you were totally centered and totally got it. I mean, like you totally embraced how awesome you are, if that makes sense. Like I could, in a humble way, I could just feel your self confidence and your self assurance. And I just love that because don't we all? That's where peace comes from, right? Loving ourselves and being comfortable when we look at the reflection in the mirror back at us.
Mhm.
Okay. So here's some questions. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, before I get to the questions, just tell us like what made you decide to climb such a tall mountain? Tell people about this mountain and the journey that took you to that. And then after you do that, then I'll ask you some more. So go ahead.
Okay, so Kilimanjaro is in Africa and in Tanzania, and it's the highest standalone mountain in Africa. And I've had a long bucket list, and I've had that for ages. And gradually, I have been ticking things off my bucket list. I was born in South Africa, born and raised in South Africa, and have lived in Holland my adult life. And so I have something special about Africa. Africa appeals to me. There's something about nature that I just in awe of and just draws me in. And
Hmm.
so I have done many physical challenges on my bucket list, but this was one of the last physical challenges. The other things on my bucket list are more pertaining to destinations and adventures and other things that I'd like to do with myself and with my son, some of them. But this one was really just a physical challenge. And my brother in Australia and I had previously run the New York Marathon together. So this was something we chose to do together. And then with my brother-in-law from South Africa. And so that's what we set out to do, is to summit Mount Kilimanjaro and feel on top of Africa. And that was the goal.
Oh, I love it. Okay, and then Linda from our group, Martouche. I don't know. I don't think I'm saying. I love her. She lives in Florida. She's an angel. In fact, she gave me the sign. This is not my practice life. I'm pointing it the wrong way, but she found it and mailed it to me. Isn't she cute? Anyway, she has two questions for you, and that this goes right here. What? Michelle Goals is live watching us. Hi, gorgeous.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Michelle. Hi.
Isn't she darling? And she sent us two questions too, which we'll get. And I have my happy mail too, and she's in the book too. Isn't that fun? Okay, so Linda asked this: how long did you train and what training did you do?
All right, I set out to train for 4 months and I did not train enough. And there were circumstances at home with my son that wasn't in optimal health that didn't allow me the time to train as much as I'd hoped. The second thing that was really in my way was the fact that Amsterdam or Netherlands is as flat as a pancake. So there is no hill training to be done here. So it for to acclimatize, you really need to several weeks in advance, like 4 to 6 weeks in advance. You need to go to a high altitude uh, to train the red blood cells to take up more oxygen and to do that type of thing. And I was unable to do that. So my training here was hours and hours and hours of walking. And the other one was lots of leg work, lots of gym work. We have a stair climber at our gym, so I use the stair climber a lot. I was contemplating buying one of those oxygen masks or masks that you sort of turn off vents so that you have less oxygen and then to go for a walk. And that's to like simulate the idea of higher altitude. But I didn't, after Corona, decided I really didn't want to walk around with a mask. So I skipped that idea.
Look at how coronavirus impacted us all.
So what I did do was concentrate on having more protein so that I could up my iron. I did some iron supplements, and I also did some breathing exercises at home. And that's about all the training I did do.
Wow. So 4 months of getting
Yeah.
ready in flat Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then um the next thing, okay. So Michelle Goals, this is her question. She said,
Oh,
"Did you
sorry, Colleen. Did Linda not have a second question?
yeah, it was what training did she do and how long did she train?"
Oh, okay. That's so both in one go. There we
Yeah,
go. All
that's
right.
good. Always ask me that too, because I'm easily distracted. So,
Okay.
yeah, this is definitely, you got to keep me on track here. So, yes. Okay. So, Michelle Gold said, did you ever reach a point where you thought you wouldn't make it or you wanted to stop? And then she does have a second question, which was, how did you push past that?
Yes. So we chose to do a 7 day route, which is a 6 nights route.
Mhm.
And the reason was to spend more time at high altitude acclimatizing so that the summit would be easier to achieve. The so on day 5, we were supposed to sleep, which I didn't do, and in the evening, and then we were woken up at 11 o'clock in the evening to have porridge to eat, and then to start the summit at midnight. And so then you walk from midnight till 6:30 in the morning, And the reason being is to reach the summit at sunrise for the most enjoyable effect. Um, that was on that route. There were many times that I really wanted to give up, three specific times. And there was one time that I actually vocalized it, that I actually said to the guides that I'm wanting to give up. And my guides really just helped me through. They just really pushed me through and got me to the top. And the uh, the whole summit was that part of it, that 6.5 hours, was no visibility. We had like little headlamps on our foreheads. We unfortunately we had a snowstorm, and it was minus 15 degrees Celsius. I do not know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was cold. It was really windy, and eventually, because of the snow, we were also all wet, and so it really was very unpleasant. And I was battling some physical ailments as well. And the only way I got through was the conversation I was having with myself and the support from my guides. And without them, I would not have made it. So at one point in time, the my hands were completely ice cold, and I put my second pair of gloves on, but I couldn't get my hands warm. I had voiced that I wanted to give up, and then the guide took my bare hands and put it in his shirt to warm my hands up. And then he gave me sweet tea and dates. He gave my back a massage. He took my backpack from me to carry it for him. He then put his gloves on my hands and put my gloves over his gloves so that my hands were warm. And he went to the top without gloves and with my backpack.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's really and I mean an absolute hero to me. But what a support, and what a, yeah, it just that I could, and also that I could just trust him 100%, and he had my best interest at heart. And if he at any point thought I wouldn't be able to make it, he would have let me know. But he absolutely believed in me, and he pushed me through.
How important was having a coach there and in our
Yeah,
lives?
he was absolutely. And the first few days you didn't, because you were still building a relationship, you didn't actually realize the importance of his role. But as time progressed, and knowing how he was monitoring us and how he was keeping an eye on us, and it's as with many things, making sure that we ate enough, making sure that we were hydrated, what whether to take malaria or not take malaria tablets at high altitude, and all things like that. I mean, it grew more and more important to me to see how I needed him to summit. Without him, and without the two of them, I would not have reached my goal. So he was absolutely vital in reaching the top.
That's incredible. I think having a good guide in real life and on the mountain is just so important who you surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, without a doubt. Yeah, and so it's interesting because I like to call myself a guide as opposed to a coach,
Mhm.
and that's really uh, the role he played. Was he didn't do it for me, but he was there all the time, and he had my back all the time. And I still had to do it myself, but he knew what to say, when to say. He knew what to do so that I managed to reach the top. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that sometimes we forget that how important the people we surround ourselves with, because if you had been with someone who just said, if you can just give up, it's really crackly now. Oh, no, it's okay. If you had been with somebody who just said, "Oh, does it hurt? Are you in pain? Are you tired?
Let's go
Um,
back.
let's go home."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's really not good, whatever you just did to it. And
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
yeah, it's better now. Okay.
I'm adjusting for the volume that you're speaking in.
Okay. Anyway, I think that we really underestimate that we become like our five friends or the people that we're with in that moment, right? And so like if you hang out in a barber shop for a long time, eventually you're going to get a haircut most likely, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if we want to grow and do cool, amazing things that we've never done before. That we have to hang around people who have been on the journey we want to go on, right? And that they're experts at it. It wasn't his first time on
No, he was,
Kilimanjaro.
yeah, he's been doing it before. As main guide, he was doing it for 14 years already. So yes,
Yeah, so he knows every inch of that mountain.
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that you hired a guide. That was a really good idea. Okay, ready for our next question?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Elaine Ireland, she's so cute, but she's gonna watch this later. She said, what would she do differently the second time if she had a second time to do it?
Yes, I think I would train more, and I would train specifically. And the one thing that was unexpected and really I'm still battling with is the descent. And the descent, because it was really, really harsh conditions, we had to push in with our heels to go down the mountain in the snow as not to slide down. And after we summited, we had to go down pretty quickly because it was really harsh weather and we were cold and we needed to we were all battling, or not all, some of us were battling with altitude symptoms. And so we just had to get down. And so I never contemplated that that would be an issue. And if I'm not even sure exactly how you train your knees specifically, but I would definitely spend more time training my knees specifically. And the other thing I really battled with is that because of the humidity and lots of rain and the weather is totally unpredictable, um, there was always a wetness in the tent, the dampness at night, and it was cold, that it was really hard to get warm and stay warm. And without me having a sort of sense of being warm, it was really hard to sleep. So everything you touched was ice cold. So even at night, in the middle of the night, because I couldn't sleep, I was reading a book and then my hands was freezing. And then I was wearing gloves at night to try read my book. And I eventually was, as we climbed higher, I eventually had almost all my clothes on in my sleeping bag to try get warm and stay warm. And that was really a challenge.
Wow, I had never thought about that. It's cold everywhere
Yeah,
and
yeah,
wet.
yeah, yeah,
So you're like chilled to the bone. I love that your guide gave you tea. Michelle Gohl said too, what the thought of the tea made me think, what a gift of a friend, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because the tea warms you up inside.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So train your knees more and
Train
it
more in general.
just more in general.
Yeah, and have more clothes for nighttime for cold. Yeah, like I don't know whether it's a onesie or something. I have no idea. But I would do more homework.
Better equipment to keep warm and sleep, right?
Yeah,
And good equipment is really important, right?
yeah, yeah,
And it's not like you can just run to the local sporting goods store and get some new equipment or REI, right? You're on the mountain.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. So that's also about equipment. And an interesting thing was is that the shoes, you buy the shoes several months in advance and you test them with one pair of socks, two pairs of socks. You test them with Vaseline, you test them with all types of things to see how they do. And then at some point in time, you have to test them in the rain, and you have to go walking out in the rain because you have to make sure that your feet are dry. So that's a whole process because you really need to know that that's good for when you go up the mountain. But you don't really stop to think about everything when you go up the mountain. You don't stop to think about the t-shirt or the thermals or you think about a lot of things, but you don't spend as much time on your on as you do as you do on your shoes.
Yeah, shoes are crucial, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what was I going to say? The on after you got back to social media, um, I saw hold on one second. I'm going to look up your post because I don't know, maybe you remember, you posted the lessons that you learned. This is what made me want to interview you. And I'm pulling it up right now. It says here, um, the ascent, and then mindset. You talked about mindset, having guides, the ascent, test of endurance, uh, and a moment of triumph. And then the lessons you learned. Can you share? Do you remember these, or do you want me to remind you some of them?
You might have to remind some of them, but the first one that comes to mind is what I was saying to myself, is really my mindset. So it
Hmm.
was when I was really battling, and on that sixth morning, early morning hours, I was having a mantra in my head, and the mantra in my head, which is not in my post, obviously, is I am Michelle Delport, and I can. And I must have said that to myself 1,000 times to get myself to the top of the mountain. And
Hmm.
I know that many moments it was the physical challenge was really so exhausting, that it was easy to give up. And then I reminded myself that this is just a moment in time, and that this is just a few hours, and that I've committed so much time and energy and money and resources to do this, that I can handle a few more hours, that I can absolutely do this. And that's one of the lessons I had. There's I'm much stronger than I think. Yes.
I think that is a fantastic lesson that you shared. We're all much stronger than we think. And when we get in these tough seasons, the mind starts to tell us, you can't do this, quit, give up. And I think when we dig deep and you dug deep and you reminded yourself, hey, I'm Michelle, I can do this. I think that that's a great lesson that applies to all areas of our life, right? Because we are going to have tough seasons, especially as entrepreneurs. Sometimes there's going to be times when we feel like giving up or just in any aspect of our lives, right? Because I think we underestimate how long it's going to take to do something or how much effort has to go into it. And I love that you had an affirmation ready to go and to remind yourself how awesome you are and how much effort you put into getting there. Because, yeah, you're all the way in Kilimanjaro, right? Like you're this close, right? And I
Yeah.
think I think that's when the brain wants to tell us to give up. When we're this close, we don't see that you only have this much. You went this far and you only
Yeah.
have this much more to go. But then the brain starts saying, this is too hard. This is too hard. This is too hard. Quit, 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 right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, I want
And
to
then the
read.
other one was, I think, something along the lines about teamwork, where you can't do it alone. I'm not too sure, but that,
Yes,
yeah, that
it
was
was.
absolutely. There's just absolutely no way that I could have done it on my own. That I would have turned back much, much sooner. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a team makes a huge difference no matter what you're doing. I was just reminded of that last night at a meetup for a real estate investment group that I'm part of. And I learn so much when I go to these than when I do try to do it on my own. And then someone said something and I met someone last night that made me really think about something that I'd never, ever thought of before. And it was just like, it's like a small little hinge that opened up this huge thing for me, right? I mean, they were just talking to someone else, right? But I was listening and I'm like, that perspective has never occurred to me in my whole entire life. And it was just a huge aha moment. And if I hadn't been in a group setting, I wouldn't have happened. So, and your guide, he gave you tea, he gave you his gloves, he put your gloves, right over his, just
Correct.
doing,
Yeah.
he sacrificed everything and he had a good heart. And so I do think we have to be careful who our guides are too. Did you do any research on that or did you just pick somebody?
I had done research into the organization, so not the person himself,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
so the organization I went with, which is Zara Tours. There was absolute confidence in them as an organization, and they also do some charity work, and they're also involved in Tanzania with kids and with other things. So as it happened, my brother and I did a safari before we climbed the mountain, and we had a complete different safari guide, and he was absolutely amazing as well. So it's really just a test to the organization that we went with.
Yeah, I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
That you that you pick people that you know you can trust, who have put in the time and the effort to make sure that you're safe, and um, that you just are really careful and selective, right? Because your health and safety, like that's a daring, precarious situation, right? That the storm came in. Like when I saw your pictures, it was white out,
Yeah,
right?
the day before and the day after, they had a beautiful sunrise, but we had nothing.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? It was all white,
Yeah, yeah, we couldn't see.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just was like, oh, wow. I could tell, like, oh, Colleen Lowe would not want to be on that mountain. I don't like to be cold. It's so funny that you were talking about being cold. It's really cold here in Southern California for us, which is not cold, like in comparison. But it was so cold, and I have a lot of blankets, and I had sweats on and a beanie, but I still couldn't go to sleep because I was so cold last night. And I
Okay.
finally told John, "Can you get me another blanket?" And he's like, "Another blanket?" I'm like, "Yes, another blanket," because the heater was on, but I was still cold, and I'm in my cozy bed, right? So, isn't that funny? What else did you want to share with us about this experience of hiking Kilimanjaro?
So I think it's not so much about whether you hike Kilimanjaro or you go paddle boarding or go swim with dolphins or whatever it is. If you have a dream, pursue it. Go for it.
Hmm. Yeah, why do you think that's so important?
Because uh, uh, not even reaching the goal is that important. The journey along the way is just so fascinating, what you learn about yourself and the road you travel to get there. And when I had run the New York Marathon, I had absolutely no appreciation for what I'm saying now. and
Mm,
and now, with who I am now today, and just the kilometers I walked, the adventures I had, the experiences I had to get to the place of reaching the summit of Kilimanjaro. Even if I had not reached the summit, it would have still been worth my while. I would have kicked my butt for not reaching the summit, but all the same, it would have still been worth my while to have had all those experiences leading up to reaching my goal.
yeah. And I have one of my sayings is this isn't your practice life. You should do what you love now. And I wish more people would take that to heart, right? Because I mean, I started paddleboarding late in life, right? After my son had cancer, I'm like, I made a list of everything I wished I would have done with my life. And I'm in my 50s and I started learning to paddleboard. And now it's one of my favorite things to do in the world, right? And I take other people with us. We now have lots of paddleboards, so I can take other people and have them meet me, even if they don't have a paddleboard, right? And there is something exhilarating. Me last week or 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was Christmas Day, I saw a huge turtle go under my board. First, I thought, what is that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a turtle, right? And it was just exhilarating, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's never too late. It's never too late to start. Like, you can literally decide, I want to go hike Kilimanjaro and put a plan together. And you could reach out to Michelle and she could be a good resource for you, right?
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, so currently I'm 53, and I'm fortunate to have a very young child who's only 10. So I was a late mother, but I mean that has not stopped me from living my life. It's not stopped me from dreaming big and having goals. And I joke around with him that when he's 18, I'll kick him out the house so that I can carry on traveling. But
I
we'll
love
have,
that.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Plus, I feel like kids keep us young,
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like my daughter has grandkids now, our grandkids. She has children, right? But I feel like I play more and get on the ground and build blocks with them or, look at the clouds going by. Sometimes I lay down on the ground, or build something at the beach, sandcastle. And I haven't done that since my kids were little. And it really just brings out the kid in me. Or go to Disneyland with them and watch her eyes light up when she sees the stuff for the first time. I feel
yeah.
like kids keep us young.
Yeah, and the other thing about dreaming is that often we find reasons not to do not to do our dreams, and whether it's about working another few hours or having other priorities, whatever. But our life is so short and goes by so quickly, and and dreaming will light our days and fill our wishes and our spirit. And if you look at all people in the 80s and 90s, when they think about regrets, it's all about the things that they haven't done, not the things that they did do. Never, hardly ever does a person regret something they have done. They really regret what they haven't done.
Yeah, there's some study where they interviewed lots of people in their 80s and 90s, and it was all the stuff they didn't do that they regretted. And I think that we make excuses and we don't prioritize ourselves. And I think that when we prioritize ourselves, like I think about the Michelle, the mother, and the example you are to your 10-year-old son about you can do anything. It's one thing to tell your child you can do anything, right? It's another thing to be the example of doing hard things that are just like people are in awe of. And that's an inspiring thing. But your son, you probably don't realize the impact you're having on him, but literally the impact is you're showing him by your living your life that he can do anything because you're doing it.
And that's interesting that you would bring him up as well, because before I left, he was actually uh, sick, which made me doubt whether I was being a good mother by going.
Mhm.
And he would have hated for me to stay,
Mhm.
but I would have really had a grudge if I'd stayed for him. I would have really battled my feelings about taking my dreams away because I stayed for him. And he's completely fine and he's completely well. But that would have crushed us both in a different way.
Yes, and I think that we all have moments of decision in our lives where we have to decide which way we're going to go, right? And if you had decided in that moment of decision, right? Because it's harder to leave a sick kid than a healthy kid, right?
Yeah,
Especially with your motherly instincts. And you would have had a grudge. It would have been a lifelong regret.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I think in those moments of decision, that's why it's so important to become comfortable with trusting your intuition, God, self, spirit, and turning to in those moments of decision and turning to him and finding out, what's the best thing for me here in this situation. So we feel comfortable, you know what I'm saying? And learning to trust ourselves more and stepping into that power more often.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
I'm really glad you went.
Yeah, me too. And also, I mean, in me voicing that to him, that I was conflicted about my decision, he immediately said that he would not want me to stay. He immediately said he would not want that. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because you are setting the example. We set the tone for our families. And the reason I'm taking imperfect action on my YouTube channel this year is because I really have always wanted to do it. And I've had situations come up where I haven't been consistent on it. And this is my year. I don't have any of those things in my life. And um, I want my granddaughters to know that they can become and be and do and have anything, that the sky is the limit. Anything is possible for them because their grandma went after her goals and dreams, right? So I was really scared to make a phone call recently, and the phone sometimes can get really heavy, and I said a quick prayer, and I pulled up my grandkids' picture on my phone and said, "Okay, you said you wanted your grandkids to know that anything is possible, right?" And so I just gave myself a little pep talk, like your affirmations, like Colleen, you can do this. Are you saying this is great? No matter, and don't be attached to the outcome. If the call doesn't go great, what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
yeah,
And the call actually went great, right? And I think that we just psych ourselves out sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Playing mind tricks.
Yes. On your coaching, you say you're semi-retired. What do you do when you're not when do you still do coaching? What kind of coaching do you do?
I do one-on-one coaching, and my preferred style is females and going for a nice long walk in nature and really going deep dive and then follow-up calls on Zoom or in person. And I it's conversational coaching, so it could go in any direction, and it very often is around self-esteem, self-love, self-acceptance, not being hard on yourself,
Mhm.
specifically being more caring towards yourself, putting yourself first, that is. And I am also a business consultant, which I just really love. And so the business consultancy is more around helping any business entrepreneur look at the business plan, look at the business, see how they can grow, see what the weak points are, see if they've thought about anything else. If just try new methods or different revenues, and see what they love and see what's working and see what's not working.
I love that. What did you learn when you owned a bar in the red light district?
Yes. So I worked there for more than 20 years. I owned it for 17 years. And I when I got to Holland, I was 23 years old, and I bought the pub hotel when I was 26 years old. So I was still really a little spring chicken. And it was all my learning took place there in the red light district. Yeah, and at the time I was really the only single female entrepreneur in the area. And um, and being the red light district, it has its own dynamic. And it was many years I stood my ground, like a male stood their ground,
Mhm.
and felt like I had to defend myself against representatives or other people or whatever. And I really just stood my ground. And it was many years before I started to learn to lead as a female and not to lead as a male. And that's just the world I was thrown in, and that was the lesson that I needed to learn. And that there is a different way and there's a softer way, and I don't need to stand my ground all the time.
In your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And do you mind sharing, just because we have a few more minutes, do you mind sharing about your story in When Love Speaks? Or
Yeah, my father, bless him, died 18 months ago, 2 years ago. Yeah, 18 months ago. And my father was a bully, and he was really hard on me, but all six kids, and he really was. And from uh, we were never good enough. We never achieved enough. And my father didn't have a nice upbringing himself, so he did what he knew and not
Mhm.
what was good. And my father taught me to call myself stupid and a nincompoop. So when I did something wrong, my father would say to me, "And what are you?" And I would say, "I am stupid. I am a nincompoop." And then my father would say, "Yeah, that's right." And in my adult years, that was like the part of me that really needed healing, because I was every challenge I had, like especially with running the bar in first years, every time something went wrong, the first thought I would have is, "Oh, I'm so stupid," and then misunderstanding something or not daring to raise my hand because I thought I was stupid. So if I really didn't understand something, I wouldn't ask because I didn't want to be perceived as stupid. And and that really followed me a long time. Uh, to see that I wasn't stupid, and that it was that I didn't have to repeat those words in my head anymore. And and that the most important thing was to be loving towards myself and kind towards myself and accepting of myself. And that my father's words were not true. and I did not have to make them true. And I even today, when my kids playing with other children or they're messing around or whatever, and any of the other kids say something, "Are you stupid?" I immediately say, "No, he did something stupid. He's not stupid." Or they did something ugly, or they what or something, not that they are. And I'm always, whether people like it or not, I'm always saying, "No, you're not allowed to say that."
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. When I reread your story after you posted, because it had been a while, and then I reread it last night, and I was just thinking about how far you've come in your life from the person being told you're stupid, because then we do believe the stories of our parents and that they're passed down generationally, right? And
Mm.
unless someone breaks that chain and does the self-development work and the personal development, gets the therapy and heals their inner child and all that, and which most people don't, right? Most people just continue the chain down. And I think about the person that you are today and the journey that you've been on, and that with your son, it will pivot forever, generationally down, right? For hundreds of years down the road, beyond you, when you're up in heaven, right? And even when your son's up in heaven, the impact that that's going to have on your generational chart is just, and those are people, those are real lives and families that are going to be impacted and affected by your decision to do the hard work and to do some self, examination and releasing things. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that, because you're just an example of what is possible. And when I saw your post, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love her so much. I just have to have her on here to share, because whatever it is, we all at some point have to decide to love ourselves, to take extreme ownership for our lives. And we can't blame our parents for everything forever. And to decide that we're going to be happy or not happy, right? And we get to choose our thoughts and our environment and our friends and our financial situation and how we respond to things. And I don't know, I was just inspired by you, and I just wanted you to know that I recognize that you're so divine and wonderful, and just wanted you to know that I'm so grateful that you s- that you took the time to climb Kilimanjaro and that you posted about it, because it's just an awe-inspiring thing, you know? What do you want to do next? What are some of the other things that you want to do?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for that, because I didn't actually consider the generational impact that I would be having by choosing me first. And so, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that up and acknowledging me.
You're
And
welcome.
my future dreams, have many. Currently still single, so I would love to have a relationship and a partner. But some of my travel dreams are around seeing Okavango Delta with Duncan, but like really having the full experience of seeing the animals up close, going on the boats, going in the lodges, going on jeeps. And another one is I'd love to go to Japan with Duncan, and
Mm.
to really, we've both never been. And so we really want to do the tea ceremony, and we want to have the fantastic food, and we'd love to see the mountain, and we go walking and really have a full experience. And can't do it all, but cherry blossoms, depending on the season. And yeah, that would be wonderful. A lot of my other bucket list things are destinations, destinations or places I'd love to see, um, hikes and walks I'd like to do with Duncan, and like tenting, camping experiences I'd like to do with him. And yeah, that's it for now.
I love it. My son went to for spring break last year, our 25 Carter. He went to see the cherry blossoms with some of his friends, and they went to Mount Fuji.
Oh,
And
lovely.
yeah, he said he loved Japan. He says it's just incredible.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
So
want to go. You really want to go. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was never on my list until he went. And he says, Mom, you have to go. It's unbelievable.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, he says it's so clean there too.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
different. I mean, especially for Americans, it's a different way of doing things. It's so not Western, what we're accustomed to. So if the one thing that comes to mind is that you don't tip. You don't, tipping is an insult because it's their job and it's their service that they give, and they don't want to. They don't appreciate being tipped. So yeah.
Yeah. And he said everyone's so polite and respectful and nice. And he just said it was so refreshing and he felt really safe there.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm.
interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we have a lot of entitlement issues over here.
Yeah, but that's just what we're accustomed to. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, of course, right? And
Yeah.
it's all
Mm,
good. It's just a different way of life,
yeah.
a different setup, right?
Mm, mm, yeah.
Well, I want to ask you one more question. Um, when you go on your walks with your clients in the nature, but when you first meet with them, what do you share with them and what do you ask them? What do you like? What's your goal when you do that?
So I like to see what's on their mind and what's most predominantly on their mind. And then I often ask probing questions to find out if that, how much that is been playing in the past, how would that change, how it would not change if they continue down the future, that pattern would still be there, and what do they feel like they need in order to make the changes so that they don't have their past equal their future.
Oh, that's great. Hmm. Yeah, because
Yeah,
we don't have to have your past does not determine your future.
yeah.
Yeah, I
and
love
and
that.
some of the behaviors is just because we've become unaware of them and we've been doing them for so long that we actually don't know better. And
Hmm.
so if somebody pokes a little hole in there and to show you that served you for a time, but it no longer serves you. So how would you like to change that? Then it opens up possibilities.
Yeah, right. Because we have no, it never occurs to us, right? Because
Yeah,
that's just how it's been done.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, poke a
yeah,
little hole.
yeah. So in my example, for example, is that I've always been for the longest time, not currently now, but I'd always been exceptionally hard on myself, and that was a protection mechanism. And so I had this exterior of the warrior woman and the strong and ready for a fight. Um, but it served me for a while, especially in my early adult years, and I definitely don't need that. I've got no fight to fight now. I've got nobody to clash up against, and that warrior woman is still present. It's still there, but I don't need her. I can lay her down. She will come up when it's necessary, and I have other aspects that I can now enjoy and allow them to bloom and come more to the forefront.
I love that. And it's nice to embrace every season, right? And
Mm,
I think that she doesn't serve you well anymore, right?
no.
And I always like to say, "Oh, I thank you for your service."
Mm,
Maya taught me that. I told Maya one time, I said, "Oh my gosh, every day when Carter had cancer, I would stop by the grocery store and get a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream and one banana, and then I would eat half or all of it every night because it was really stressful." And every day I would say I wasn't going to do it the next day, but probably 4 out of 7 days a week, I would stop by Ralph's and get the ice cream. And she said, "Colleen, you need to release that and thank the ice cream for serving you and helping you process your stressful situation, and then release it, let it go."
mm,
That was a great coping mechanism for that moment, right? And for that situation, but like it doesn't serve you well anymore, and you're not doing it anymore, and stop beating yourself up over it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, good idea."
yes.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, but
stop.
we don't see ourselves clearly, and that's as a guide or a coach. That's my job, is to help you see what you don't see.
Yeah. How can people get a hold of you, Michelle?
So LinkedIn is the best, but I'm also on Facebook. But it's Michelle Delport on LinkedIn. It's michelledelportcoach.com is my website. But yes, I presume you will be posting it somewhere on your
Yeah, we'll link
YouTube.
and we'll
Yeah,
put a link on how to get a hold of you too.
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, any last remarks? Anything I didn't ask you that I should ask you or that you want to share with everyone?
Just thank you very much. I love this time together. I love sharing my stories, and yeah, and thanks for the my own reflections based on this, because I actually made a couple of notes.
I'm so glad. Isn't that fun? I love that. I love that. I'm so glad. I love that. I'm just taking, like, I literally read your post and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to interview her immediately. And I literally just, I'm doing it. Like, I literally, whenever I saw a guy on YouTube the other day, Jonah, and I'm like, I have to interview him. He's incredible, right? And and literally I typed in the chat on his thing, "Hey, I hear you're coming to Southern California. I'd love to interview you on my show. I just started my YouTube channel." And he literally messaged me back and said, "Sure, no problem." And then he DM'd me. He goes, "If you pick me up at the airport, I'll be on your show. That after you pick me up, we can go straight to your house and record it." I'm like, "I'll be there. What time is your flight?"
Awesome, amazing, congratulations. Good for
Yes.
you. Yeah, good for you.
So I'm just loving because these are the stories that are awesome. Like your story, Kilimanjaro, like I'm never hiking Kilimanjaro, but I do want to do Machu Picchu, which is a little different, but not quite the same because
Yeah.
like you're doing and snow, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, enjoy your day. No, it's nighttime for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dinner time. Yep.
Well, go eat dinner and give Duncan a hug. Someday when I'm in Amsterdam or close by, I would love to get together. If you're ever in LA, I hope to see you too.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much, dear.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to all our followers and people that are watching. Like and subscribe to this and share this interview with people that you would love to inspire because this is a good one. Anyway, love all of you guys. And you know I believe in you and I'm cheering you on. So, and thank you to John Loaf behind the scenes. We have no idea what we're doing, but we're figuring it out together. So let me just see if there's any last questions on here on the YouTube thing. Hold on. Let me just check before we go, in case before we get off of here. Live chat. Let's see. I think we're good. So,
Good.
any, anyway, mwah, thank you, lady. I just
Thank you so
adore
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye, gorgeous.
Bye-bye.
That was really good. Did you like it?